Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about another build. It's going to be a build on Void Titan. This build involves Graviton and Doomfang Palindrome. This build I've grown quite fond of. I know it's a little bit of an odd pick. And I had some people telling me that I was just picking random stuff on my other video for builds, but I assure you that is not the case. I throw something together that I think would work, and I test it out, and I mean, so far this one works pretty well. But before we get into the video, I'm gonna have to ask you guys to hit that like and subscribe button. It is completely free, it helps me out a ton, and you guys could just unsubscribe later if you feel the need. So with that said, let's get into the build, baby. Alright, start things off, we're going to be using Towering Barricade. Rally Barricade doesn't work very well in this build. Shield Throw because Doomfang Palindrome, and Vortex Grenade because Vortex Grenade synergizes very, very well with Graviton Lance and the Day's Explosions. Alright, for our first aspect, we're going to be using Bastion. Now, cast your super to grant Overshield to nearby enemies. Casting your Barricade grants Overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies bunkering behind it and extend their overshield duration. Now, the theme of this build I was trying to go for was kind of add clear and support at the same time. This is definitely 100% not a DPS build. Could you use it for damage? Yes, you could. But, again, not a damage build. You're not going to be pumping out some super insane damage like some other builds. Alright, next aspect. We're going to be using Unbreakable. Hold to summon a Void Shield and block a portion of incoming damage, gradually draining your grenade energy and granting an overshield over time. Releasing the grenade input or running out of grenade energy releases a frontal blast from your shield that deals increased damage based on how much damage was blocked. Combatants that come in contact with the shield are temporarily disoriented. Now, I really like this aspect for this build, because if you're in a Grandmaster, for example, and you're trying to revive a teammate and you don't have your Barricade, you can just throw this up, revive your teammate, let some grenade energy fly, you know? For our first fragment, we're going to be using Echo of Cessation. This is where the build gets pretty fun. Finisher final blows create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile. Defeating a volatile target creates a void breach. Now, you don't need to do a finisher. If you do a finisher though, everything does become volatile nearby. Why do I say that you don't need to do a finisher? Because Graviton Lance already does that for you. If you want to stay far away and just unload Graviton, you can do that. Everything else becomes volatile. But if anything does become close quarters and you just want to get out of a situation, you can do that because of a finisher final blow, makes everything else volatile, and then everything goes boom. Alright, for our second fragment, we're going to be using Echo of Leeching. Melee final blows start health regeneration for you and nearby allies. Yes, I know, it's a super simple fragment, but it is super essential and super useful. This fragment also works with your melee abilities. Alright, next up, we've got Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenade grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. Now you might be asking, why did I put this in here? Well, Graviton might have volatile, but your heavy does not. I'm using Doomed Petitioner in this, and getting rid of those champions is a little bit difficult, but the shockwave that volatile rounds creates, super helpful, and it gets rid of those champions, cleans them up real nice and easy. Alright, for our last fragment, we've got Echo of Obscurity. Finisher final blows grant invisibility. Now I know this one's a little bit of an oddball, but hear me out. If you're in a Grandmaster and you don't have your grenade energy to put up your shield or your Barricade, when you're trying to revive somebody, and this is the last life, you're going to want the invis to go revive your teammate. Need I say more? Alright, these are the armor mods. I'm not going to go over them. They're not that important, but you guys can copy down the ones that I put on. Super simple, just kind of helping the build out in every way I can. Alright, now it's time for our exotic weapon and our exotic armor piece. Graviton Lance. Second shot of a burst rips a hole through space-time, doing high damage and recoil with no fall-off. Graviton Lance is one of the best exotic PvE rifles in the entire game. The sheer unstoppable power that this thing has, the amount of AoE that this thing can do, is top-notch, unmatched. Look at this clip here and you will see why I'm glazing this thing so much.
A lot of damage!
Yeah, I know. This thing's insane, but with this catalyst it's even better, as it gets Vorpal Weapon, increased damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians with their super active. And using this weapon to break the shield of a combatant or a guardian using this super will grant you an overshield. Now with this build, you're going to be getting a whole lot of overshield. Doomfang Palindrome. Defeating targets with void damage has a chance to grant an escalating bonus damage to void weapons. Defeating targets with void melee grants super energy. While Sentinel Shield is active, defeating targets with melee attacks recharge shield throw, which extends your super on hitting a target. Now for comparison, this is how much super energy you're going to be getting for every melee hit. This is a really bad representation, but this is how long your super could last. Again, bad representation, I could have done better. But this is how fast you have the potential to gain your super. Well, that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you would consider hitting the like and subscribe button. And if you made it this far, comment down what I should do next. Curious to see your guys' thoughts. And take care.